how are you stopping yourself from greatness?
I think it's a very important topic for everyone to discuss because we stop ourselves and block ourselves in so many ways and so many times during our lives. And I think it all comes down to self questioning. And also, I think the first question we have to ask is, do you believe in yourself? Right? Because if you do not believe in yourself, then of course you're going to be stopping your own potential because you keep um, not trusting your own potential and not trusting that you are good enough to do something. So, what do you think about believing in your own self?
I think it's a process, like when you're young, you believe in yourself fully because no one ever said that you're not good enough, that you're not smart enough, you're none of that. So you're like, of course I can do this. Of course I can learn that. And children are always eager to learn new things and they're always proving that they can do different things. But then I think in the socializing process, there's a point where expectations, like external expectations, start like being heavy on us, and we start questioning our potential. And from that point, it's always like an unlearning, I would say, to shed all these layers of doubt and also expectations from others.
Mm-hmm. And it's really nice when you mention about, like we always say, during childhood, we become who we are nowadays, most of the times. So I believe that children who had siblings as well, they already learn that they would be compared with their siblings or, cousins. And since from a young age, they start recognizing things that they think they are good at and things that they think they're not so good at because of external validation. Someone recognizing that you do something instead of other things. So because you hear this feedback, you are conditioned to keep doing that instead of exploring the many opportunities and different things that you possibly could do. So I think if you have children around you, it's really nice if you encourage them to do everything that they are interested about. And even if they don't know about something, show them, present new things because they are so great at absorbing everything around them and giving their full energy and potential to that it's really amazing. And especially nowadays, the children are always at home and only staying their computers and playing video games. It's not really encouraging them to explore different things. And I mean, video games, they are so entertaining and colorful, and you are rewarded as well with points and all that. So I do understand that it's hard to take them out of that routine of just doing one thing, but I think it's important to go back to the old ways and allow the children to play with many, many things.
Yeah, I think this reminded me of actually something from communication studies that Marshall McLuhan, he used to call things like hot medium or cold medium. So for example, he said video game is full of things, a lot of information at you all the time. So it's like a hot medium because there's no place for you to input your own opinion or your own perspective or understanding. So everything is given to you. So you don't have to think. You just play, but other types of media allow you to have this space for interaction and for your own thoughts. And I think some time ago, I saw a video about a mother trying to teach her child how to be more creative. And she said, the best thing a child can do is like when they are bored, because the kid would come to her and like, hey, mom, I'm bored. I don't know what to do. He said, darling, that's amazing. You're bored. How many things you can come up with right now, So when you give time to being bored, you allow yourself to come up with things that you want to do. And usually those things are more intrinsic to yourself, not someone else imposing like, hey, I think you should do this or that. And I also think like we live in a very weird system, like this capitalist system of ours, because it makes like even parents see what are potentially careers for their children and other things as hobbies. So usually when they think like, oh, this kid is really creative, but that's just a hobby. Or like in our case, we really loved playing instruments, but it's like, of course, she's not going to become like a professional pianist or guitarist or like, guitar player or bass player or whatever, because those are not considered professions. So they're not really encouraged. They're encouraged just as something, a hobby to pass your time. And that's very wrong, in my opinion.
I think it's interesting when you mention about how kids nowadays they like video games and all that because they don't need to put any input into that. They only react and do things that are already expected from them. But I think in our case, when we were children, it was exactly the opposite. We never really liked video games or things that we could not create. So we would go outside or just grab pencils and pens and whatever and create our own reality or our own world. And I think that was the most amazing thing during childhood. And it surprises me how some children, they don't really like it. They don't have this inner spark of inspiration, like to try to do something out of their hearts, out of their minds. And I think even nowadays, you said we like things that don't make us bored, right? But if we're raised like this, not being bored anytime, our attention span becomes really small, really short. Yeah. And then even as adults, we don't want to do things that we consider boring or that requires more time and attention, like reading.
Yeah.
And it's a pity, I think. It's really something that people should practice. It's all about practicing, right?
It is. But I think it's not that some kids are not intrinsically, creative. I think all of them are, but some are given the space to let it flow and flourish, and others are not.
Yeah.